Ag Bioscience, the #1 ag tech podcast globally, is now available on video. Hear from leaders and innovators across food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Mondays at 6 a.m. on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. While you're there, subscribe and leave us a review. It's the Ag Bioscience Podcast with Agronovis Indiana. Get more information at agronovisindiana.com.
I keep telling my fellow conservatives, it's important that we focus on what we're for before we focus on who we're for.
This week, former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence in studio. His new book on what conservatives believe, his relationship with President Trump, and views on Indiana's future. And just across the Indiana border, a South Bend company in the spotlight for its connection to the Obama Presidential Center.
If you actually raise their head to the sky like this, their bottom jaw tends to drop a little bit.
Pet parents can now have Purdue vet expertise in the palm of their hands. The school launching an app to help pets and their humans. And flying high, support is building for Fort Wayne as the new home for 2 fighter jet units and a boost for national defense and the Northeast Indiana economy. Inside Indiana Business is next.
From Indiana's business news leader, this is IBJ Media's Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick, presented by Elevate Ventures, Indiana University, and the Indiana Association of Realtors.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. We have a special guest with us on this week's show, former Vice President, Indiana Governor, and United States Congressman Mike Pence in studio to talk about his new book, his time in the White House, and why he's still bullish on the Indiana economy.
You'd have to ask him why he tapped me in 2016. But I always had the impression that Indiana had a lot to do with it. I think he had a lot of respect for my conservative principles and my values. But the candidate, Donald Trump, during our campaign in 2016 was constantly peppering me with, how did you do that in Indiana?
We recorded that interview with former Vice President Mike Pence just days ago for our Business and Beyond podcast. Now he joins us in studio for more conversation. And Mr. Vice President, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gerry. Good to be home.
Yeah. I have some questions from folks around the state that we'll get to in a moment.
Great.
I want to talk about your new book, What Conservatives Believe, as well. But first, some breaking news this week with the U.S. Iran deal, the memorandum of understanding that would potentially end the war. Your take, is it a good deal?
Well, first, I think it's important to say that President Donald Trump has done more to degrade the Iranian threat by military strikes last year and this year in Operation Epic Fury than any American president in the modern era. But now that the memorandum of understanding is signed, I have concerns. I think from this point forward, we've lifted sanctions from the outset here. There's a possibility of $100 billion in Iranian funds being unfrozen, another $300 billion that the U.S. commits to arrange. I just think we've got to ensure that at the end of this negotiation, not only have we ended hostilities and restored freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, but I think we have to demand the full and verifiable dismantling of the nuclear program that Iran has pursued for decades, the dismantling of their offensive ballistic missile capabilities, and a final and complete end to the support of terrorist organizations across the region. We accomplished that. This will be historic. We failed to do that. This will be one more version of the kind of appeasement that, frankly, has failed through the years. All
right, you're on a book tour now. What conservatives believe. Why write this book now? I know we talked a few days ago. You believe your party, the Republican Party, is at an inflection point.
I do. In fact, I think both parties are, to some extent, Gerry. When we see that playing out in Indiana and, frankly, across the country. I think, look, I joined the Republican Party after growing up active in the Democratic Party down in Columbus, Indiana. But I joined the Republican Party because of the principles that Ronald Reagan articulated: a strong defense, limited government, traditional moral values. That's defined the Republican Party for the last 50 years. But there's been two changes. While our contest politically was always against a traditional liberal Democratic Party, now the Democratic Party is dominated by voices on the progressive left, voices that openly advocate socialist policies, socialist candidates, and that's a very real change. But I wrote the book because there's another change coming from what I call the populist right that would question America's role as leader of the free world, would introduce big government solutions, economic policies far afield from the free market values and free trade principles of the Republican Party, and marginalizing values like the right to life. So I wanted to write this book to really start a debate in 26, and as we look at 2028, I think it'll be more important for people in our party to focus on what we're for before we focus on who we're for.
As you look at those conservative principles, limited government, fiscal restraint, there are those who push back in this current political environment, especially things like student debt, that young voters maybe, it's a tough sell for them. Sure. We talked with a DePaul University student. He's got a question for you right here.
Mr. Vice President, your book makes the case for economic freedom over government solutions. What is the free market path to making college more affordable for my generation?
Well, I think it's a really wonderful question, and I want to congratulate that student for taking a look at my book. What I'd say is that what's made America the most prosperous nation in the history of the world has been economic freedom, and having 3 kids, all now out of college, and student loans mostly paid for. I know for them, the most important thing is a good paying job when they come out of school, and making sure that we have the kind of economic policies that will promote investment here in Indiana and across the country and create jobs and opportunities for our graduates, I think is key. But also, I think creating diversity and educational opportunities. In the book, I have a whole chapter on educational choice. Indiana's been a national leader in expanding educational opportunities for young people. So whether it's K through 12, whether it's higher education, whether it's post-secondary technical education, increasing those choices is a pathway toward the future. More freedom, more education freedom, more economic freedom will mean more opportunities.
I want to talk more about Indiana after the break as we continue our conversation with former Vice President Mike Pence. A lot more ground to cover, including his take on manufacturing in Indiana. We'll be right back. Northwest Indiana is essential to elevating Indiana's future. Explore how IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the state of Indiana are bringing a bold vision for regional growth at Innovate Northwest Indiana, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. Join Governor Mike Braun and business and community leaders for a candid conversation on growth, workforce development, and innovation. We'll be at the Valparaiso University Harry Union Ballroom July 8. RSVP now at ibj.com/innovate.
Today, you either innovate or evaporate. We are accelerating the pursuit of progress. From the foods we eat to the heights we soar, because this is Indiana, the innovation capital of the world. We rally visionaries across industries, invest in connections as much as capital, and fuel our founders from dorm room to boardroom. Fuel your innovation with Elevate Ventures.
What have you been up to?
Oh, you know.
Oh, I see it's not flossing. I just added some secret weapons to my toolkit.
Huh?
They help me drill down further, digging deeper than I ever could before. Into my business and personal finances with Lake City Bank Digital.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Now let's take care of that tooth.
Add sharper tools for your money with Lake City Bank Digital.
You are all set, Brian.
I'm Devin.
And welcome back to Inside Indiana Business as we continue our conversation with former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence. And Governor, before we get to some Indiana economy questions, your take on President Trump. You don't disagree with everything he's doing. You agree with some things, disagree. What's your relationship with him now?
Well, look, I think the new Trump administration has gotten a lot right, and I say so in my new book. We had the worst border crisis in American history under the Biden administration. They've secured the southern border back with the policies we had in effect in our time. Extending all those Trump-Pence tax cuts in their entirety was critical. And also, as we talked earlier, I think being willing to take the fight directly to Iran, to stand with Israel, has been deeply admirable and effective for the American people. That being said, there have been some departures, I think, that reflect the influence of populist right thinking, the stops and starts on support for Ukraine following the brutal and unprovoked Russian invasion 4 years ago. Economic policies like broad-based tariffs that, while they were turned back by the Supreme Court, continue to be pursued against friend and foe alike. Nationalization of American businesses, which would have been unheard of during our administration together. Price controls on pharmaceuticals and credit cards. These represent departures on policies at home and abroad that some on the populist right want to make permanent on the Republican Party. And it's very much why I wrote What Conservatives Believe.
I want to get your take on the Indiana economy. Our state continues to be very much driven by the manufacturing economy. Have a question from Southeast Indiana and that major development at River Ridge.
Mr. Vice President, as we continue to grow River Ridge Commerce Center as the Midwest's premier business park, we aim to attract high-skill, high-wage jobs to support Southern Indiana's residents. How do you view Indiana's chances in attracting sustainable manufacturing operations that are looking to relocate back to the United States?
Mark, thanks for the question. When I was governor, I used to love to say, here in Indiana, we do two things really well. We make things and we grow things, and we sell them to the country and sell them to the world. And Mark, when I look back on my time as governor, having played some small role in the extraordinary development that you're now overseeing at River Ridge, is a great source of pride for me. And from New Albany all across South Central Indiana, and frankly to our neighbors in Kentucky who've also benefited, that enormous investment down there is going to pay dividends for generations. And I think it all proceeds from the policies of economic freedom, less taxes, balanced budgets, less regulation, creating the right conditions because we've seen manufacturing part of Indiana's past and present, but I think we've only just begun in your area and Gerry, also in the whole area of life sciences in the days to come.
Quick take, your main reason for optimism for the Indiana economy going forward?
Well, it might be my boundless confidence in Hoosiers. I mean, Indiana, I'll always believe, is one of the best places in the world to live, to work, to raise a family and retire. But it's also because we've really led the way with those common sense conservative policies of less government, less taxes, educational opportunities, even while we see to it that our communities have the need to grow and prosper. Indiana knows how to do it right. It's like that clip at the beginning of the show when President Trump added me to the ticket a decade ago. About every other conversation was about Indiana, and I expect it's one of the reasons that I made it on the national stage.
We literally have 15 seconds here, but what's next for Mike Pence? I know you want to be a banner carrier for the conservative movement. Elected office, is that in your future?
Karen and I like to say our life is not our own. We'll always go where we feel like we're led, but I don't see politics in my future as much as I see trying to be a champion for the common sense conservative principles that I was raised to believe in here in Indiana. I want to carry those to our party and across the country in the days ahead.
Former Vice President and Indiana Governor Mike Pence. Now that you're back home in Indiana, look forward to having you on the show in the future as well, and good luck with the book.
Thank you, Gerry.
All right.
Phil Mickelson.
Well, Live Golf is supposed to tee off in Westfield later this summer, but it's not a gimme. We'll explain why when Inside Indiana Business returns.
Whether you're buying or selling a home, the stakes are high. Realtors are market experts who do business by a higher code of ethics, and we're invested in Indiana because we're also your neighbors. Now here's the latest statewide real estate report.
Listings grew by 5% year over year, continuing to outpace sales. Pendings jumped by 30% from February to March and were up 1% year over year. Sales were similar, up 27% from February and 1% from last year. Inventory is tightening, but growing year over year. However, inventory growth has slowed. We've been at 13% year-over-year growth for the past 4 months, while growth ranged from 15 to 30% in the 2 years before that. Prices are up 4% year-over-year, $10,000 higher than last March. Days on market fell significantly, and immediate sales are more common. Price drops are falling, but higher than last year.
Challenges are real.
Type 2 diabetes rising
Small
faster
businesses
among
need help.
Alzheimer's cases rising as population.
They said it'll never happen.
It's too hard.
Nothing will change.
Can't compete.
You'll never solve it.
And we said, watch us.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick, coming to you this week from Northwest Indiana, Jeffersonville, Muncie, South Bend, in downtown Evansville, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, Richmond, from one of the state's key entrepreneurial and innovation hubs, 16 Tech. Inside Indiana Business, Indiana's business news leader. Well, if the Chicago Bears follow through on their intentions to move to Northwest Indiana, it won't be the first time the region has hosted a professional football franchise. From 1920 to 1926, Hammond was home to the Hammond Pros, a charter member of the NFL. And as we record our show this week on June 18, here's where things stand with the Bears potentially building a new stadium in Hammond. Hammond Mayor Tom McDermott said this week on his podcast, quote, "We're getting closer," meaning an official deal could happen soon. Meanwhile, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the Bears need to explain, quote, what it is they want. And he did not rule out a special legislative session this summer to try to keep the Bears in Illinois. But Illinois State Representative Cam Buckner said this week, "We cannot have a special session until we have a deal. You don't call a special session to draw up a plan. You call a special session to land the plane." Buckner wrote the property tax bill that failed in the General Assembly there, an attempt to convince the Bears to build a new stadium in Arlington Heights, Illinois. Well, to Indiana's stake in professional golf, LIV planning to return to Westfield for a tournament in August, but there are questions now surrounding whether that will happen. LIV's CEO suggesting this week that there's a chance the last 4 tournaments on the schedule, Chatham Hills being one of them, may not be played due to LIV's Saudi-backed funding infrastructure planning to go away.
This is Matthew Wolff, his second shot at the par 4 12th. Missed some tournaments recently with a back problem. Plays for Bubba's Range Goats, and what a start for Matthew Wolff.
Well, that was 2025, last year, when LIV Golf made its Indiana debut at Chatham Hills in Westfield. We reached out to Westfield Mayor Scott Willis about the situation. His office tells us that at this time we are proceeding as if the tournament is taking place in August in Westfield. We've not heard from anything different from LIV or their organizing partners. The city also says it doesn't hold a contract with LIV. That is in the hands of Hinkie Development and Chatham. Shifting gears now to this week's Business of Health, where we're focusing on a Purdue-inspired app for animals and more growth for an innovative Indiana company, changing how things are delivered. Kylie Valletta here now with more on those stories. Kylie.
Thanks, Gary. We start this week with Fishers-based Arrive AI making news, announcing it will expand its project at Hancock Health Regional Hospital in Greenfield. Arrive AI and Hancock Health launched an autonomous delivery network at the hospital last year. Its success means it's now on the grow. The robot saves time for staff by delivering things like medications and lab samples between 2 high-tech mailboxes in the hospital called Arrive Points. The expansion is adding a 3rd Arrive Point, and here's the kicker. It's not inside the hospital. The robot will travel outside to another building on campus for deliveries and pickups. The company says the original deployment was the world's first asynchronous delivery, which means a handoff between robots and mailboxes, no human required. Arrive AI says that asynchronous or unattended delivery is its sweet spot in the marketplace.
when you're doing something asynchronously, the robot can come on its own cadence, drop an item into an arrive point, send you a notification. You come out at your convenience, and that allows the robot to go on to its next mission. We call it autonomy unlocked, and that's the key. Everything you're building toward is only of value when you can unlock that autonomy, and that's what we do here at Arrive AI.
The team is planning the robot's outdoor route now, and it'll be showtime in about 2 months. You may also recall Arrive AI went public last year. Getting your cat to swallow a pill or clean your dog's ears can be puzzling for pet owners, but now, thanks to Purdue University innovation, there's an app for that.
And then just try to make sure you get the other toes out of the way when you're trimming. Make sure you're away from the feathers so that this rotary tool doesn't grab the feathers.
Birds will benefit from the app created by the experts at Purdue's College of Veterinary Medicine called Purdue Vet Med. The app for Apple devices has videos to teach basic care for dogs, cats, birds, and even horses at a time when vet care is getting harder to find.
But we know there are a lot of shortage areas in Indiana and across the world where we can't reach everybody with animals. So this makes animal care more accessible to everybody on a global scale.
The idea for the app came about when students started using extended reality on Apple Vision Pro for clinical labs, and they wanted to make it available to the public as well. And it's Clark for the 3. Hoosier kids can now play the summer away on 3 new courts thanks to the Caitlin Clark Foundation and Eli Lilly and Company. The 2 big names in Indiana teamed up with Iowa-based Musco Lighting to open the multi-sport courts in Indianapolis. 2 IPS schools each got a new court, and a 3rd one is now open just southeast of downtown. The 3 new courts are part of Lilly's 150th anniversary celebration.
Back to the Arrive AI story, you talked robots there, but they're pioneers in drone delivery too, right?
That's right, and that's totally on the table for this Hancock Health project. That actually would be the next phase. Hancock Health is saying we have facilities throughout the county. They are 100% interested in having drones deliver things throughout the county. They're not just stopping at robots.
More Indiana technology. Thanks, Kylie. Well, up next, a South Bend company has been poring over its biggest project to date for the last 5 years. How Inville Facade is leaving a permanent mark on the nation's newest presidential center. Northwest Indiana is essential to elevating Indiana's future. Explore how IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the state of Indiana are bringing a bold vision for regional growth at Innovate Northwest Indiana, presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. Join Governor Mike Braun and business and community leaders for a candid conversation on growth, workforce development, and innovation. We'll be at the Valparaiso University Harry Union Ballroom July 8. RSVP now at ibj.com/innovate.
Today, you either innovate or evaporate. We are accelerating the pursuit of progress. From the foods we eat to the heights we soar, because this is Indiana, the innovation capital of the world. We rally visionaries across industries, investing connections as much as capital, and fuel our founders from dorm room to boardroom. Fuel your innovation with Elevate Ventures.
The challenges are real.
Type 2 diabetes rising
Small
faster
businesses
among
need help.
Alzheimer's cases rising as population.
Solutions.
They said it'll never happen.
It's too hard. Nothing will change.
Can't compete.
You'll never solve it.
And we said, watch us.
Whether you're buying or selling a home, the stakes are high. Realtors are market experts who do business by a higher code of ethics, and we're invested in Indiana because we're also your neighbors. Now here's the latest statewide real estate report.
Listings grew by 5% year over year, continuing to outpace sales. Pendings jumped by 30% from February to March and were up 1% year over year. Sales were similar, up 27% from February and 1% from last year. Inventory is tightening, but growing year over year. However, inventory growth has slowed. We've been at 13% year over year growth for the past 4 months, while growth ranged from 15 to 30% in the 2 years before that. Prices are up 4% year over year, $10,000 higher than last March. Days on market fell significantly, and immediate sales are more common. Price drops are falling, but higher than last year.
We want this to be a place where anyone can come to find inspiration and get the tools you need to take action in your own community.
A major milestone for the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, opening the Obama Presidential Center this week on the south side of Chicago, just a stone's throw from the Illinois-Indiana border. And there's an Indiana connection to the letters you see here on the side of that building. South Bend-based Involt Facade created the concrete used to create a portion of President Obama's "You Are America" speech from the 50th anniversary of the voting rights marches from Selma to Montgomery.
It looks elegant, and I think the process kind of was anything but. It was extraordinarily challenging and heavy, and it was logistically challenging. So, but in the end, when the outcome is an elegant feature like that, it's been a success.
The speech includes 458 letters, and each one is, get this, 5 feet tall. Well, the 122nd Fighter Wing in Fort Wayne is one of several bases being considered for 2 F-35A fighter jet units, a move that has the full support of Indiana's congressional delegation. In a letter sent Wednesday of this week to the U.S. Air Force Secretary, both Indiana senators and all 9 representatives say the Fort Wayne base has all the tools needed to succeed any F-35 mission. Senator Todd Young recently visited the base.
I saw their increasing sophistication as it relates to intelligence. They need some investment so that they can continue to receive intelligence at the base and be ready for the fight in a split second.
At this point, it is unknown when the Air Force will decide on where to place those F-35s. To Knox County now, where multiple initiatives are fueling housing surge and hopes for talent attraction. Several developments underway across the county. This week, residents started moving into the first Beer House Flats units, a $35 million market rate apartment project in Vincennes.
At the end of the day, there's a company or a person at the other end of that line that is having to make that risky decision to, pull the trigger on a really significant project. And so as we see success with Beer House Flats, I think that's going to basically tell us whether, whether this demand model that we think exists truly does. And I believe it does.
Also in Vincennes, students from Lincoln High School's construction program just delivered a finished 3-bedroom home. There are plans to expand that program next school year, and it includes students from all 3 Knox County schools. Well, an uncertain future for one of Indiana's most well-known drag strips. The Daniels family putting the historic Muncie Dragway up for sale after owning it for about 14 years. The facility has been a fixture in Midwest drag racing circles since it opened in 1960. The Daniels family says operations will continue at the track until there is a buyer. Well, the summer fair and festival season is taking shape across the state of Indiana. One event you may want to check out, the 54th Indiana Fiddlers Gathering at Tippecanoe Battlefield in Battleground, which starts the last weekend in June. And that's where we leave you this week. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead and make it a successful week.
We are bringing the power of this to this with a new IBJ Media app. For the first time ever, you'll be able to get the Indiana Lawyer, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indianapolis Business Journal all in one place wherever you go. All across the state of Indiana, IBJ Media provides the news you need to know, and we're doing it now directly to your phone. To be a part of this, you can find it on your favorite app store. Just search IBJ Media.
Been a while. What have you been up to?
Oh, you know.
Oh, I see it's not flossing. I just added some secret weapons to my toolkit.
Huh?
They help me drill down further, digging deeper than I ever could before. Into my business and personal finances with Lake City Bank Digital.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Now let's take care of that tooth.
Add sharper tools for your money with Lake City Bank Digital.
You are all set, Brian.
I'm Devin.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick, coming to you this week from Northwest Indiana, Jeffersonville, Muncie, South Bend, in downtown Evansville, Terre Haute, Fort Wayne, Richmond, from one of the state's key entrepreneurial and innovation hubs, 16 Tech. Inside Indiana Business, Indiana's business news leader.